Well, we've shifted to another day and another rain, of course. So yesterday I went out and I sprayed that Avidex down that we were kind of reading on in the book. So some of it you got to work it in, within 24 hours or whatever. That stuff actually indicated you didn't. We still are planning to work it in, but of course it rained, so we won't be doing that right away. Also, they were out disking, so they made about an hour into disking, and then the thing popped up. It said 24-volt system low. Anyways, didn't pay much attention to it, didn't really know what it was, kept going, and then it went to 19 volts. So it was supper time anyway, so they just brought it in and parked it so we could figure out, and we went and had supper and then figured out. And now, so I did a bunch of testing, tested the fuses in here, and then I tested across the blades on the one fuse. Kind of came up with the battery equalizer has failed. This is a 2013 tractor, and it's I don't even think it has 2,000 hours on it, or it's just right around 2,000. Arguably the biggest piece of shit we've ever bought. That one there we bought new has just over 3,000 hours on it, I think, and it's basically been problem free. There might be a hydraulic valve that needs to be replaced. It was sticking, but just the difference, right? So I don't know if, like, up to about 2005, 2006 were like the last good years, and everything else after that has just been a total piece of junk. And it gets a little raw when people are like, oh, well, if you don't want to be broke down, you just got to buy new shit. Well, because the newest stuff that we have is always broke down. Our 1955 cockshut, yeah, okay, we had to do the rad, and I had to do a water pump finally last year. I'm sure it was the original water pump on it. And that's like a 1970s tractor. Never lets you down. The wiring harness did melt that one fall, but I had the book and I just ran some new wires, and life was good. Our 2394, yeah, okay, it needed an alternator, it did, and then it just runs. These 4440s, they're 1980s, like 1981, 1979, something like that. Yeah, they need some oil changes every once in a while. And we've done a couple alternators, and we've done a battery. We've also done a cab fan in one of them. And other than that, they just run. Our swather is a 2018, I believe. The stupid button on the joystick, that's already failed. The thing up in the headliner for the heat and the cold, that's failed, and they don't even make that anymore, I was told. Like, that's not even an option to fix it. Now, of course, I'm sure there is somewhere, but it's just not easy. You don't phone them up and say, hey, I need the dial, and they're like, oh yeah, we got 10 on the shelf. No, they throw it away, burn it. Our 9750, now mind you, that is a 2003, but that combine's been through circuit board after computer thing. We even actually had the mechanic tell me that is the cleanest electrical component box he'd ever seen. He said usually they're really dirty. So it's not because of negligence, it's not because of it's because the stuff is actually just a total piece of junk. And it's getting a little raw because things they're pretty good in ag, depending on where you're at. Nobody can really deny that. I mean, if you're in an area that's been hammered by drought, then yeah, I can give it to you that it's not so good for you. But prices are high. They have been high for a few years. But the farmer isn't seeing a whole bunch of that. If you're trying to run this late model stuff, technology alone is just decimating you. We budget now like right around $10,000 a year just for technology. So when our GPSs quit, when this battery equalizer or whatever it is quits, when whatever it is quits, we just have a kind of budget 10 grand for shit that doesn't change anything, right? So if you get a flat tire and you change your tire, you've got a new tire and you got more life out of it and everything. But if you have a stupid little solenoid or something that fails and you change it, you really haven't changed anything, right? Like when you get a new tire, you're going to get more grip. When you get a new solenoid, you just have a new solenoid. you know, doesn't change anything. So my understanding of what's going on up here is we have a 12-volt system for most of the stuff, just like anything else, but a 24-volt system for the what am I trying to say here? We got a 24-volt system, for the starter, I think, and for the exhaust fluid, DEF, DPF, whatever you want to call all that stuff. So there's a battery equalizer in here that's supposed to take the 12-volt system from the alternator and turn it into 24 volts to charge both batteries, maybe, or something. I don't know. But that is what we're pinpointing at has failed. And you can tell if it's failed when the tractor's running. Fuse number 5 in here, or this 15 amp fuse. Pull that out while the tractor's running and test both pins. If you get 24 volts on either side, your battery equalizer is working. If you don't, your battery equalizer is not working. So I did that yesterday with the tractor running, and I didn't get 24 volts. I got 19 on the top, and I got 0 on the bottom. So what I'm going to do here now is disconnect the batteries and find out which one is dead. And then, because one's been drawn right down, and I'm going to charge it and see if I can get the tractor going, so I can tell if either one battery went completely dead and can't even be charged anymore, or that stupid battery equalizer has failed. And that was also a runaround this morning, because the dealer was like, I don't even know if we can get that. Like, we don't have one. And you know, I had looked last night. Of course, everything, you know, it was after supper when I was looking, and it kind of showed that they did have one across the border in Dawson Creek. Like, we're right in the middle, so it doesn't matter if we go to Grand Prairie or well, it's close. If we go to Grand Prairie or if we go to Dawson Creek. And so I checked both places. I always do. And Dawson Creek said it had one. And then when I looked again later on, about 20 minutes later, it said they didn't have one. The closest one was going to be in Lethbridge. So I was just frustrated by that. But when I called this morning, yes, in fact, Grand Prairie did not have one. Dawson has 2, a new one and a reman one. So once I get these off and get them checked, then I will know what my next move is. Either I'm going to Dawson to get a battery equalizer, or I'm going to, well, either place to get batteries. But I need 2 hands for all this, so let me get the phone off here, and I will we'll go from there. So the front battery was totally dead. You could tell that by, so you hook these up. See, your battery thing went right to 100, 13.5 volts. Hook it up over to this one. Oops. Riding the struggle bus this morning. Right in the front too. Not even in the back with the cool kids. Anyways, hook that up. 0. So we're going to get her charging here. And while it's charging, I'm going to peel this panel off, because I think they said that piece of shit was right there, actually, I think. So let's have a boo-hoo on her and see. That's $700. $600, I guess. $650. $50 core. So let's get that off of there and see where we go. So I've been continuing to ride the struggle bus pretty hard here this morning, and I was looking in here and I was like, well, that's what it looks like on the internet. That's got to be it right there. So I started working away, taking these bolts out. I was struggling really hard on this one, and then I looked down and I was like, well, get out of town. What is this thing? Okay, so this is the thing, I'm pretty sure. This is the box that they think has failed, that I think has failed. What I got to do, though, one last check, because this battery was totally dead and this one was totally charged. I have to charge this one up, get the tractor running, and then test them to see if it's getting 12 volts and then 24 volts. I'm at about 28% charged. Oh, 29, look at that. So we'll see if we can get this thing charged right up, and then do that last test. And go from there. While I'm doing that, I gotta clean this out down here. afternoon. So I'm just getting back here after all that this morning, all the troubleshooting with Gus here, this T9.505. We've landed on this being the issue. So this is the old one. I took it out. I took it up there. A little bit different design on the new one. I don't know if it's upgraded to be better or stronger or whatever. But this is called a power conversion battery equalizer. So that test that I had just done here, that was right from the service manager there. He said, test your batteries. You should have 24 volts and then 13.5 and then this spade. This was the test that really should have proved that the equalizer had failed. You should have 24 volts on each side when you pull this fuse out and test it. I didn't. I had 24 volts on the top. I didn't have anything on the bottom. So a little bit of a weird system. From what I understand, this battery number 1, charges from the alternator, gets its 13.5 volts to stay charged. But this battery charges from the equalizer. So this morning when I came out here, this one was totally dead. This one was charged. So kind of everything is falling in place to indicate that that equalizer had failed. The only thing that makes me nervous is when you buy electronic components and you bring them home and you open them up and you put them in yourself. If you do it wrong, if you blow it up, if you drop it, if it doesn't work right out of the box, it's all on you now, right? Unless they come out and install it, they don't take them back, they don't warranty them, they don't do anything like that. $670 some, $40 core. So this is going to be all in just a little over 600 bucks. But the guys agreed with me, right? I'm basically an hour away from either dealer, either going to Dawson or going to Grand Prairie. So by the time they bill you that $120 or $50 an hour each way to drive out and basically do the exact same test that they told me to do, and then I mean, hopefully they would bring one of these so they don't have to drive back. Of course, Grand Prairie didn't have one of these, so they wouldn't have brought one. I would have had to go to Dawson and get it anyways and bring it out for the tech to install. Your bill alone for the call out is going to be like $500 or more. So you turn it in from basically a little over $600 for the part. So it's going to be almost $1,200 bill for the part and the call out, or you just run up and roll the dice, which is basically, I mean, kind of what I decided to do. I tested it. I made lots of calls. They were very, very helpful, which is a huge change from what I experienced, 5 years ago. They've actually sort of inspired me that I could maybe even get some more NewHolland equipment, because for a while there I was thinking like, oh boy, they don't help very much and I don't want anything NewHolland, but that's changed. So I'm going to slap this in, I'm going to plug it in, I'm going to hook the batteries up, and then I'm going to run my test again. So I'm not going to turn the camera back on until we get to that point. But what we're looking for is to have 24 volts on both sides of where that fuse went in. Okay, well, so because I'm a glutton for punishment, I've actually bolted it in too. I was originally just going to plug it in and then see if it worked before I went through the motions, but I also thought, in my experience, I'll plug it in, I will test it, it'll work, and then I'll unplug it to bolt it all together, and then I'll put everything together and I'll start it again, and then it won't work. So I'm just going to do it that way. It's not plugged in yet. Battery is still unhooked, and the disconnect is off too. So I got to plug this plug-in in down there, this plug-in down there to plug the equalizer in, then hook this battery terminal up and tighten it there for the disconnect, and then I will be able to start it and we'll be able to test across this fuse. All right, so it's a moment of truth. I'm going to jump in there and I'm going to start the tractor. Hopefully it starts, and I'm going to come out here, pull this fuse out and test across it. If that's not it, she'll be back to the drawing board. Well, as you just saw, I put the new equalizer in, hooked everything up, and I did not have power to both sides. So I messaged the service manager. He said, oh, I'm going to look at the schematics. He said, oh, there's a 30 amp fuse where it's got to go through to get to both sides. And it's right here. So I pulled this off. And yeah, it was blown. I don't know where I put it, in my pocket. So when I put a new 30 amp fuse in here, I got it on both sides. So now what we're wondering is, why did that fuse blow? Doesn't mean that we're down the wrong track. Now we got to find out why that fuse blew, because if that fuse blew because the equalizer had failed, then we're still okay to replace the equalizer. If the fuse blew for some other reason, I just wasted $700 on an equalizer. There's the fuse that was in it. Clearly popped. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook the old equalizer up, because I'm a skeptic. I'm a little bit skeptical when people tell me what's going to work and what's not, and I'm going to fire it up and see if it blows this fuse again. Whew. Okay, so that was interesting. I ran this little plug-in that plugs into this equalizer. I just ran it under here so I could plug it into my old one, and as soon as I turned this to on, it blew that fuse. So where is it here? Oh, it's this one. These ones you can't really see through, but it's burnt in there. I watched it pop. So what the mechanic was, or the service manager was saying, hopefully this failing caused this fuse to blow. So I'm going to unhook it here again, hook it back up to the new one, put my fuse back in and see if it pops. All right, so I'm plugged back up into the new one. Got a new fuse here, 30 amp. Plug her in, click her on, and it didn't blow it. So I got 24 volts to either side of this. I got a good fuse in here, and that's that. So if you have a T9.505 tractor and it's not charging, the 24 volt system is down, check this fuse first, 30 amp fuse, make sure it's not blown. Check at this 15 amp, check either side. You need to have 24 volts on either side. And then most likely your equalizer has failed. So now that I've tried that and I've gone down that road and I've unhooked and rehooked up everything, I'm going to fire this tractor up. I'm going to give it one last test before I bolt that all back together, and then I'm going to call it wins. So shout out to both the dealers for bearing with the guy. They were both very helpful as far as what tests to do, what to look for, so on and so forth. And like I say, if it's just that equalizer, which it looks at this point it's 100%, it was the equalizer failed, caused that fuse to blow. I just saved myself probably $500 in call out, and because I could change the part myself. Well, I just ran in for a quick wardrobe change and quick bite to eat. So we got to run the kids off to power skating, and you know, I'm kind of feeling good about the day so far. It's really nice to end on a high note. Gus is fixed. The equalizer was the problem. It's what was blowing that fuse. It all works now as it should. So can't be sad about that. Can be sad about the $700, but you can't be sad about the fact that it's fixed. So as always, thanks for watching, and we will see you all on the next one.